Hi, good day everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel where we usually discuss topics under the different subjects of the BS in Criminology curriculum. Gusto ko lang po ipaalala sa lahat na hindi po ito para sa promosyon, hindi po ito para maging sikat, kaya wala po tayo dito makikitang masyadong edits, masyadong special effects in the delivery of the topics. So from time to time, you will be able to hear some noises from the background. Hayaan na lang po natin sila kasi as much as possible, I would like to make this a normal classroom setting where people can make mistakes. Okay? But in any case, I hope this video presentations, this video series will be useful in your classroom discussions, and you may be able to utilize the video discussions in your normal face-to-face instruction. So if everyone is ready, let's have the first subject for today, which is all about specialized crime investigation with legal medicine. So again, yours truly, my name is Vincent Vittorio Abel Maceda. I am a registered criminologist, a certified criminalistic specialist, specializing in dactyloscopy or fingerprint examination. Okay? So, again, if everyone is ready, umpisahan na natin tong discussion natin sa specialized crime investigation with legal medicine. So, just to give you a little background regarding the subject, before RA 11131, specialized crime investigation and legal medicine are two separate subjects. Special crime investigation is under the area criminal detection and investigation, while legal medicine is under the area of forensic sciences. So, parehong malawak yan, yung mga subjects na yan, pero dahil nga meron na tayong bagong curriculum, which is under the law RA 11131, pinag-isa na lang sila. So, in the new curriculum, the subject is much more simplified and much more integrated with each other. Kasi kung tutuusin, yung knowledge natin sa legal medicine, i-apply lang naman kasi talaga yan sa different types of crimes, especially those which we call special crimes. Yon. So that's it for the background. For the course content, so we will be dividing the topic into 4 different topics. Okay, subtopics, I mean. So the first one will be all about criminal investigation, in where we are going to discuss the concepts, principles, and tools used in investigating crime. The second topic will be about crime scene investigation, where we are going to familiarize ourselves with the processes involved in investigating the place where a crime incident happened. So if you can remember, topic number 1 and topic number 2 are just review topics of your fundamentals of criminal investigation. Diba? So, nakapaloob na siya doon. Actually, tinakil na natin sila on our other account. But for the purposes of special crime investigation, kailangan natin silang balikan. After the review of topic number 1 and topic number 2, we will move forward to topic number 3, which is the introduction on legal medicine. So, simultaneously, we are going to integrate legal medicine, medical and forensic knowledge to criminal investigations, particularly to those crimes which we consider special crimes. So what are those special crimes? Later on na natin siya alamin. What are those concepts of medical and forensic knowledge? Later na din natin sila alamin. For now, all we have to do is review criminal investigation, its concept, principles, and tools used in investigating the crime. After that, ititigil muna natin yung video at susundan natin siya ng part 2 ng serye na to. Okay? So if everyone is ready, let's have a review on criminal investigation. So as mentioned during our fundamentals of criminal investigation, crime detection and investigation, or in short, criminal investigation, is both an art and science. Diba? So sabi natin noon, ang criminal investigation ay parehong art and science. Art in the sense that we make use of common sense. We make use of judgment. And we make use of inherent intuitiveness, yung intuition natin sa mga bagay-bagay. Okay? So basically, we are using our own personal skill in order to give light into the darkness of a criminal activity. At the same time, it is also a science. Why is it considered a science? Aside from the fact that we are using scientific equipments, scientific instruments, it becomes a science because it follows a methodological process. Okay, so there is a process, there is a method that we need to follow in order to solve a particular crime. So the combination of the art, of your skill, of your common sense, judgment, and intuition with the methodological process creates the very how can I say this? The very well discussion, or very what's this, the proper implementation or the proper exercise of criminal investigation. Okay, so I hope you get that. Again, criminal investigation, dalawang bagay, art and science. So kailangan natin gamitin hindi lang yung kaating personal na kaalaman, yung ating personal na kasanayan, kundi kailangan din tayong sumunod sa mga protocol, sa mga proseso sa pag-iimbestiga ng krimen. So combined, that's criminal investigation. Okay? So the next topic is about the National Bureau of Investigation. So we already know CIDG, 'di ba? Nabanggit na natin during our fundamentals of criminal investigation, and probably during our interagency, that there is a certain organization in the agency, a law enforcement organization in the country named the NBI. So ano ba tong NBI na to? Ano ba ang kalagayan nito? So NBI, or the National Bureau of Investigation, is considered as the premier investigative agency in the country. So when it comes to investigation, they are practically the best. Okay? Because they have the equipment, they have the more modernized technology, and they have the trainings needed for investigating, especially those special crimes. So NBI was created by Republic Act 157 as amended by Executive Order number 94. So when we talk about NBI, we are dealing with these types of cases. Number one is human trafficking cases. So human trafficking cases is all about transportation of people, whether it be domestic or international. But the transportation that we are talking about here is illegal. Okay? Illegal transportation of people. So, ito yung paglilipat ng isang tao mula sa isang lugar papunta sa isang lugar sa loob ng Pilipinas man yan o sa labas. Okay? For the purpose of exploitation. Labor exploitation, sexual exploitation, drug exploitation, or whatever course of action na illegal ang dating. Okay? So, for example, merong taga-probinsya, recruit para maging katulong sa Manila para pagtrabahuhin ng walang sweldo or whatever, that's human trafficking. Okay? Hindi pwede yung ganon. Lalong-lalo na kung yung recruitment agency na yon ay hindi naman registered. Okay, makaklasify siya as human trafficking. Also, sexual exploitation. So, yung nanay, okay, halimbawa, yung nanay, ibinenta yung anak sa isang Amerikano, and then, ginawang sex slave. Okay, pinapunta sa Maynila, pinakasal sa Amerikano, yon. Those are forms of human trafficking. Even drug-related cases. Like, for example, yung tao, ginawa siyang drug courier. Diba? So, yung droga ipinasok sa katawan ng tao at pinabiyahe yung tao papunta sa ibang lugar just to deliver the drugs. That is another form of human trafficking. Okay? So, the next one here is extrajudicial killings. So, probably you may have heard about this certain topic, especially during the time of then President Rodrigo Duterte. Medyo nauso masyado itong terminolohiya na to na extrajudicial killing. So just to give you an idea of what is extrajudicial killings, so this is a form of execution or killing which were done extrajudicially without court intervention, without going to the usual proper court process. So bago pa man sila sinampahan ng kaso, di ba? Bago pa man sila pinakinggan sa hukuman, bago pa man na-exercise yung due process sa kanila, wala na, pinatay na, tinapos na, sinentensyahan na. So, yun yung extrajudicial killings. So, in most cases, naririnig natin to doon sa mga terms tulad ng nanlaban, di ba? Sa mga drug by-bust operations. Yan. Third one is cybercrime cases. So, cybercrime cases are actually a broad collection of crimes. Okay? Kahit anong krimen sa revised penal code, kahit anong krimen sa special penal laws can become a cybercrime cases. Okay? Kailangan lang natin dyan ay computer, kailangan lang natin dyan ay network, internet, then it will become cybercrime cases. Libel, with the use of computer is cyber libel. Sex, with the use of computer is cyber sex. Di ba? Dadagdagan lang natin siya ng cyber sa unahan para ma-consider siya as a cybercrime case. Alright? So, the fourth one is graft cases. So, this is commonly known as pandarambong. Okay? Pandarambong. So, these types of crimes are usually committed by politicians. Those who are in position, those who are in power. Just to give you a few example, yung corruption, malversation, these are example of graft-related cases. Okay? Anti-dummy law, the fifth one, on the other hand, are those related to corporations. There are certain situations kasi na, for example, ako, foreigner. Okay, foreigner ako. I would like to do my business here in the Philippines, but there's a specific rule that I cannot actually own a company here unless represented by a Filipino. So, I will make it appear na Pinoy yung may-ari, Pinoy yung nagpapatakbo, Pinoy yung head, pero actually ako yung president, kung baga. So, bawal po yon sa ganitong bansa. Okay, so there is only a certain percentage in which a foreign individual may own or be related to the administration, to the operation of a Filipino company. Okay, kailangan masunod natin yon. So, the dummy are those Filipinos who are nagpapanggap. Yon. Nagpapanggap na may-ari nung negosyo na yon na, well, in fact, sa mga foreigner pala yon. Alright? The next one is threats to national security. So, there are some cases na kino-consider natin na threat to national security. Some of those are sedition, treason, coup d'etat. Those are cases involving the security of the state. Okay, so if there are any threats, if there are any indication that those kinds of crime is currently happening, is about to happen, then NBI will be the sole agency to investigate the occurrence of such threat. Okay? The next one is transnational crime. Pagka sinabi naman natin na transnational crime, these are borderless crime. Wala po itong sinasantong bansa. Wala itong consideration as to geographical unit. Okay? So, some examples of transnational crime is drug trafficking, wildlife trafficking, diba? Artwork, art gallery, art trafficking, what else? I think sex trade may also be considered a transnational crime. So, ito yung mga krimen na nangyayari sa iba't ibang bansa. Okay? Just to give you a concrete example, we have drug-related cases. So, we have the term drug trafficking. So, paano ba ito nangyayari? For example, dito kasi sa atin, sa Pilipinas, we do not have the capacity to produce or manufacture high-level drugs. Diba? Wala tayo ditong makinarya para gumawa ng heroin, etc., shabu. Kung meron man, napaka-small scale lang siguro. We do not have kumbaga, what I'm trying to say is that we are not the source. Okay? We are not actually the source of the drugs. We are just the consumers, the user of the drugs. We have what we call the golden triangle, golden crescent. So those are countries where a certain kinds or types of drugs actually came from. Okay? Ini-import lang yan dito sa ating bansa. Okay? Pero, still, doon ginawa, nakapunta dito sa Pilipinas, parehong kaso related sa drugs, then that makes drug trafficking a transnational crime. Okay? Personal identification of disaster victims. So, the NBI also have the capacity, the technology, and the mechanisms in order to help our disaster risk and reduction management team, the PNP, the BFP, on identification of victims, especially of disasters, such as, for example, flood, typhoon, volcanic eruptions, earthquake. Okay? From time to time, meron kasing mga biktima dyan na hindi na natin ma-identify on the usual means. Okay, masyadong sira na yung mukha, damage masyado, sunog masyado. So, we can ask help from the NBI in order to help us in the identification of those people. Okay, the next one is white collar crimes. When we say white collar crimes, this is something to do with profession. Okay, in the Philippines, we have basically two colored professions, the white collar and the blue collar. When we say blue collar, those are those types of crimes na ginagawa ng mga nasa lower level ng sosyedad, ng society. Okay, for example, yung pagnanakaw, 'di ba? Yung simpleng paninira, tumults, pang-aaway, dito 'yan, sa low level 'yan. Pero pagka mga kaso na tulad ng mga high level cases na, business linked cases na. So white collar crimes naman 'yan. Okay? So for white collar crimes, NBI tayo. Next is intellectual property crimes. So these are crimes relating to products coming from the mind of people. Like for example, if I'm going to write a book, okay? So if I'm going to write a book, the ideas that I was able to put on the book came from my mind. So nobody is allowed to just simply photocopy the book, diba? And make it appear that sa kanila yon, yung librong yon. So ownership, okay? Ownership ng isang bagay na galing sa aking intellectual. That's my property. Okay? So nobody is allowed to claim such intellectual right. So if there are any situations na intellectual property code ang na-violate, NBI ang pinakamagandang mag-conduct ng criminal investigation on that matter. Okay? Some cases of staffa, especially the big ones, the large-scale staffa, NBI tayo dyan. Staffa, just to give you an idea, is paninira ng tiwala. So that's basically the foundation para magkaroon tayo ng staffa case. And lastly, Securities Regulation Code violation. So this is talking about businesses. Okay, businesses. Just to give you an example, so I'm trying to start a business and I actually named my business McDonald's. McDonald's. So, yon, magkakaproblema ako nun sa SEC, sa Securities and Exchange Commission, sa violating the Securities Regulation Code kasi napakalapit ng pangalan niya sa McDo. Yon. So, parang ginaya ko lang yung franchise nila. So, that's actually prohibited. So, for those kinds of situation, NBI din tayo. So, again, NBI, the premier investigative agency in the country. But of course, there are also some investigative bodies in the country. The PNP has the CIDG. Every law enforcement unit is, I believe, have their own investigative operations. Okay? Even private detective agencies are also considered investigative agencies. Okay? So much for that. Let's go to the phases in investigation. So when we say criminal investigation, it will only involve three major phases. The first one is identification of the perpetrator. The second one is locating the perpetrator. And the third one is providing sufficient evidence to prove the guilt of the perpetrator. So like what we have said during the fundamentals of criminal investigation, the main definition of criminal investigation goes this way. So, criminal investigation is the art and science of identifying the perpetrator of the crime, locating the whereabouts of the perpetrator of the crime, and providing enough evidence to prove that the perpetrator of the crime was indeed guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, so just to make you remember our previous discussion regarding this topic, phases in investigation, let's try to visit the different methods of identification of perpetrators. So I have here my other PowerPoint presentation. This was my lesson in Fundamentals of Criminal Investigation. And let's go directly to evidence and criminal identification. So in here, we are going to discuss the different methods that we use in identifying the perpetrator of a crime. Okay, so let me just go to that particular slide. Okay, malapit na tayo. So this is about evidence. Okay, it will be given to you again when you reach fourth year. Yeah, because you will have criminal evidence. So, at least nagka-basic na tayo during the previous semesters. Anyway, so methods of identification, we actually have a lot of them. Okay, we can identify a perpetrator through the confession of the perpetrator himself. We can also utilize an eyewitness in order to identify a criminal. And when we use the eyewitness, di ba? Pag nag-eyewitness identification tayo, marami tayong pwedeng i-utilize na paraan. For example, the artistic sketch or the cartographic sketch, the testimony of the eyewitness, the portrait parley, police lineup, and rogues gallery, which is the collection of the different pictures of known criminals which we see on the police department. Di ba? May libro yan ng mga may record sa kanila. Yun. So, these are the strategies that we can employ for the identification of an eyewitness. Again, an eyewitness is someone who was able to see the crime. Okay? The second way of identification of a criminal is through the physical evidences. So, just a recap, when we say physical evidences, these are evidences found at the crime scene. And these physical evidences can be either tracing evidence or associative evidence. When we say tracing evidence, these are evidences of small quantities found at the crime scene, resulting from the transfer of materials. Okay? But on the other hand, if we say associative evidences, these are evidences that can directly link such evidence to the perpetrator of a crime. So, for example, pag may nakita ako dyan ng mga hibla ng tela, pintura, yon. So, those are tracing evidences. May nakita akong pintura ng kotse doon sa crime scene. Nawawala yung kotse. So, pwede kong hanapin yung kotse using the paint. Diba? Trace natin yon. But on the other hand, kapag sinabi naman natin na associative, direkta natin linilink yung nakitang ebidensya sa tao. Like for example, fingerprint. Diba? Fingerprints are unique. There are no two people who has the same fingerprint pattern. So, ina-associate na natin yon direkta sa isang tao. Okay? So, that's the difference between tracing and associative evidence, which are forms of physical evidence. The last method of identification is through the use of forensic sciences, of course. Okay, so we have different forensic sciences in that we practice. To name a few, we have the fingerprint identification. We can also use odontology or through the teeth. Okay, we can even still use anthropometry. So that has something to do with bones. Handwriting examination, especially for forged signature, questionable writings, questionable documents. Okay, blood identification and DNA identification. So those types of identification usually involves laboratory examination. Okay, so that's why we classify them as identification by forensic sciences. Okay, so much for that. So those are the means that we can use in order to identify the perpetrator. Second one, to locate the perpetrator. So basically, this is talking about intelligence, gathering of information. Later on, we will be able to have a discussion on the tools on investigation. There will be ways on how to locate the evidence. Okay, but just to give you a short discussion on locating the perpetrator, it usually, most of the time, includes the use of intelligence, where it be human, where it be military intelligence, tactical intelligence, the use of counterintelligence, whatever. Okay, and the last phase of investigation is to provide sufficient evidence to prove the guilt of the perpetrator. I would like to emphasize on the word sufficient. Diba? When we say sufficient, dapat in Tagalog, sapat yung ebidensya mo. It doesn't matter if you only have 1, 2, or 3 evidence. So long as those 1, 2, or 3 evidence is strong enough to prove that the perpetrator really committed a crime, then that will help you very well on your investigation. Kumpara naman sa meron kang libo-libong ebidensya, wala namang halaga, walang sense yun. So again, when we talk about investigation, that is the art and science of identification of the perpetrator through different means. It talks about locating the perpetrator right after identification and providing enough evidence to prove the guilt of the perpetrator beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, our last topic for today will be all about tools in criminal investigation. So, like I've said during our fundamentals of criminal investigation, this is the 3I. Okay, madali itong matandaan kasi lahat ito nagsisimula sa letter I. The first I is information. Okay, so information may come from regular sources, cultivated sources, and grapevine sources. We can say regular sources as the first source. These are the most common source, 'di ba? Yung direktang witness sa isang krimen, 'di ba? Yung witness, yung biktima, yung suspect, mga libro, mga articles, internet, those are regular sources. Kung saan tayo usually kumukuha ng impormasyon. When we say cultivated sources naman, on the other hand, sila yung mga specially sought for para makagather ng impormasyon. Linagay natin sila dyan para makakuha tayo ng impormasyon. So basically, those will involve the informers and then different softwares that we put into the system in order to gather information. While lastly, the grapevine sources, these are sources from the underground criminal world. Diba? Meron tayong kasabihan that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sila din kasi magkakalaban dyan. Diba? Si Bahala na Gang, kalaban si Sputnik Gang. So, para matalo natin si Sputnik Gang, kaibiganin natin si Bahala na Gang. Because for sure, they will have some information that we may not know yet. Diba? So, tayo ang magtutulungan. Tayo ang magiging magkaibigan. Yung pagtutulungan na yon, yung Bahala na Gang na yon, na pinagkunan natin ng impormasyon to get some information regarding the Sputnik Gang, sila yung grapevine sources. Okay? The second I is about interview or interrogation. So this is a matter of collecting information. So how do we usually collect information? Through interview or interrogation. What is the difference between interview and interrogation? So this is also discussed previously on the basic subject, fundamentals of criminal investigation. But just to have a recap of the discussion, when we say interview, this is talking about field inquiry. So the people who we are talking with here are the victims, those witnesses who participate or cooperate in the investigation process. Okay. Hindi ito mahirap. Hindi dito kailangan ng masinsinang pagtatanungan. It does not usually involve techniques in order to get information. Just a simple question and answer portion. Basically, the 5 W's in 1 H. Why? Because the people from where we are trying to get the information will generally respond to the questions. While on the other hand, when we say interrogation, this is a much rigorous process of collecting information. Because in most cases, hindi nakikipagtulungan yung mga tao dito. So, usually, it will involve the suspect or those types of witnesses which are hostile. Ayaw magbigay ng impormasyon, ayaw makipagtulungan sa investigasyon. So that is also the reason why interrogation commonly happens custodially. Ibig sabihin, habang nakakulong na doon sa presinto during custodial investigation. Okay? And the third I, very close to identification through forensic science, instrumentation. So again, this is the use of forensic sciences at dito na rin papasok sa eksena yung kahalagahan ng aspeto ng legal medicine. Okay? So those are the 3 I's of investigation. And that will be the end of the first video recording session under specialized crime investigation with legal medicine. On our next video, pag-uusapan naman natin, bibisitahin naman natin ulit, babalikan natin ulit yung ating naging discussion sa crime scene investigation. So for now, I would like to say goodbye. Salamat sa pakikinig. Salamat sa pag-subscribe. I am still highly encouraging everyone to spread awareness of this YouTube account so that makatulong naman tayo sa ating mga kaibigan, sa ating mga klase, kung sino ka man na gustong mag-aral ng BS in Criminology subject. Again, this is not for popularity. This is simply to fulfill the promise. Okay? Na wala tayong iiwan panahon man yan ng pandemya o kahit kailan paman. Alright? So again, thank you so much for listening.